President Lynn Tartaglia, Vice President Barbara Milano, not here. Treasurer Janine Menard here. Secretary here. Director
Dave Sherwood
Sherwood.
here.
Bill Hooks
Present.
and Rich.
No.
Have a quorum.
All right, Barbara, would you please review the minutes of the April 15th regular board meeting?
President Tartaglia called the meeting to order at 10:03 a.m. The Pledge of Allegiance led by Director Gigliotti and recognition of deceased and ill neighbors and our troops followed. Secretary Kowalski called the roll and all board members were present. A quorum was established. Secretary Kowalski read the minutes of the March 18, 2021 regular board meeting. Director Gigliotti moved that the minutes be accepted and Director Sherwood seconded the motion. Motion approved. President's report. President Tartaglia explained the 80-20 rule is a federal Fair Housing Act statute that protects older individuals to not be discriminated against for their age. An association must have a minimum of 80% of residents older than 55 years of age. The 20% is in the event of the passing of a unit owner leaving that unit to someone under 55. That is clear. However, we do not have clarity how it relates to unit owners, others that they allow to live in the unit, etc. We therefore are obtaining legal advice. We have not been adhering to our docs for some time and must change them to reflect what is best for our community. We will figure it out and then vote on it at the next annual meeting. President Tartaglia recommended a committee be formed and a recommendation be accomplished by January 2022. The board voted on whether to enforce the docs, which state all must be 55 plus to own for purchases between now and the annual meeting, and it was approved unanimously. A motion was made by Director Hooks to have discussion and a vote by the board on the 80-20 rule. It was seconded by Director Sherwood, and the motion was approved. President Tartaglia named the executives and explained the roles of the directors of the 2021-2022 board. They are: Vice President will be Barbara Milano, Treasurer will be Janine Menard, Secretary will be Barbara Kowalski, the Director of Buildings, Appurtenances, and Exterior Plantings will be David Sherwood, the Director of Lawns and Grounds will be Lynn Tartaglia, the Director of Pool and Clubhouse will be William Hooks, the Director of Sales and Leases will be Barbara Milano, the Director of Strategy and Cultural Planning will be Barbara Kowalski, and the Director at Large will be Richard Gigliotti. Motion was made by President Milano on having board meetings throughout the year, which would be 12 months a year, seconded by Treasurer Menard. Votes in favor were 6 with 1 against. Director Hooks. Motion approved. Treasurer's report. Treasurer Menard reviewed the association's financial position as of the end of the first quarter 2021. She indicated that the finances were in good shape. She also indicated that work was being done on the 2022 reserve funds. Motion was made by Director Hooks, seconded by Director Sherwood. Motion approved. Buildings and infrastructure. Director Sherwood reported that in 3 or 4 days, the 16 doors would start being installed and it would take a few days more to have the inspections by the town. Suggestion was made by Doreen Spiller, Unit 217A, to paint the laundry rooms. It was also suggested by President Tartaglia to send a communication out to the unit owners that laundry rooms are not storage areas and have to be cleaned out of any fertilizer, chemicals, paints, etc. The Delray Fire Department has fined the association 3 times and will continue fining the association if the laundry rooms are not cleared. Unit owner Frank O'Rourke spoke about a problem about the fence behind his unit and the dialysis center and rat traps. Vice President Milano addressed these issues and will follow up. Director Gigliotti moved to accept the report, seconded by Vice President Milano. Motion approved. Lawns and Gardens. Director Hooks explained that 2 trees will be taken down, 1 each by Unit 167 and 140. Tree trimming will be accomplished before hurricane season. Unit owner of 282B complained about the dirt and grass clippings on the walkways all day when the lawns are cut. Director Hooks will investigate this. Unit owner 152 recently bought his unit and found that water was pooling and flooding. President Tartaglia said that a team will be meeting together next week to look at this problem. She also reported that the board may be hiring a professional engineer to make recommendations on how to correct this problem. Unit owner of 340B said she had a terrible smell and woke her up at 10 p.m. She asked that if any other residents smell anything, please report this to the office so that it can be investigated. Motion was made to accept this report by Vice President Milano and second by Director Sherwood. Motion approved. Clubhouse and pool. Director Gigliotti reported that code enforcement failed the association for not having smoke detectors on the 2 air conditioners. Both were fixed and they are both now approved. Also, a new upgraded coin machine was installed at the clubhouse. Additionally, the laundry machines have a new proprietor and a phone number has been posted in the laundry rooms. A new drinking fountain will be replacing the old under the awning. Motion was made by Treasurer Menard to accept the report. Second Vice President Milano. Motion approved. Sales and leases. Director Milano reported that units 175B and 185B have an intent to sell and are for sale. Unit 212C has sold. Next, Director Milano asked that the census letter, which had recently been sent out, be returned as soon as possible. She also announced that Pat Lynch will be her board partner, but she will Zoom for the summer meetings. Motion was made by Director Hooks, seconded by Director Gigliotti to accept the report. Motion approved. Strategy and cultural planning. Director Kowalski explained that strategic planning and what strategic planning entails. She and the treasurer will be working as a team and will be helping directors plan their projects and prepare their requests for proposals. This will include all capital improvements over $1,000, insurance funding, reserves, etc. All 2022 project bids are expected to be completed before the budget committee meets in the fall. Also, she is responsible for working with the board and community to establish a social climate that encourages and welcomes new and existing residents to a variety of community events and activities. Next event will be May 14th. Meeting of the social committee is scheduled for April 20th at 11 a.m. All members are invited and new members are encouraged to attend. Old business. Director Milano asked that all owners leaving for the summer read the instructions for closing their units. Especially important is cover the toilet to prevent sewer rats. Lights being attached to the building, outlets on light poles, etc., must be approved by the board and must not be altered in any way by the unit owner. Additionally, unit owners should have a caretaker who watches and checks on their unit at least once a week. Unit owners should leave the caretaker's name and phone number with the office. New business. Unit owners in building 205C and D have asked the board permission to put a walkway across some of the lawn to their parking spaces to prevent them walking into the road. This would increase their safety. President Tartaglia was not in favor of this action, included concern that it would be set a precedence in the community. Permission was granted. Discussion ensued regarding problems related to pets, specifically dogs and cats. All pets are required to be registered with the office, which includes reporting health and licenses information. The leash law is not being adhered to. The sizes of the animals are a problem. The number of animals in each unit is more than one. Feeding feral cats are a problem. Director Gigliotti has been appointed to investigate this and report back to the board. Director Gigliotti reported that a negligent driver had an accident on the north end of the boulevard. The driver's insurance, Geico, will be covering the cost of repair. Seeing no further business, President Tartaglia requested a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn made by Director Gigliotti and seconded by Director Milano. Motion approved.
I'll be a second.
Sorry. Um, we talked last week about Zooming the meetings. We are on Zoom right now. We have not opened that up for remote located folks. We have to work on that, and it's on a list of 4 gazillion things for us to do, but we will get it done. In the meantime, we're looking at posting the videos of the meetings on our website. And I think we're hoping we can do that real quick in a hurry. I think we had a little miscommunication, but I think we'll get those up there very quickly. And so I'm really hoping that by posting those videos, because you have an actual representation of what happens at the board meeting, that we will no longer need to go through a full review of the minutes each month, and we can, just dispense with that part because we've got an actual video that captures what really happened and all the words and all of that stuff. So, okay, President's report. I have passed out to the members of the board 2 pieces of paper. One is a simplified version of Robert's Rules of Order for running a board meeting, and it talks about how to make motions, how to second, voting procedures, and all of those kinds of things. I ask that you take a look at it, familiarize yourself with it. We're going to go by the spirit of Robert's Rules of Order. We're not going to be sticklers on specific language and verbiage. We will make sure that things a motion is made and that it gets seconded. That there's no spirit in that. That's just the way it's going to be. But in terms of the language and nomenclature that's in this, just make yourself heard and understood. And a lot of it has to do with simple courtesy to each other, making sure that we're allowing people to speak. And once one has spoken, waiting until others have spoken before you take the floor back. There are some people who have difficulty with that, and so we will have to manage that as we go along. Barbara, you can't see what I'm doing, but I am just making sure everybody knows I recognize where that comes from. I also have passed out a draft. Last meeting was a good meeting. It was a healthy meeting. We had lots of people there, but it was a little confusing because we had a lot of new people that hadn't attended a board meeting for a while or in a long time. So if you recall, there were a number of cross conversations and such. So I'd like the board to take a look at this draft and make any changes or corrections or additions you'd like. And then once done, we can pass it out to the attendees at the board meeting. That just kind of outlines what many of you know, which is, that the board raises the issues and discusses them. We provide a microphone for the community to weigh in, to ask questions about those conversations and issues. And they're required to give their name and unit number before they do it. It's supposed to, board meetings are not about individual personal issues. So if you have a personal issue like my roof is leaking, or I don't like the way Big Al cuts the clematis in my front yard, those are not for comments and conversations here at the board meeting. Additionally, we don't speak of personnel matters, which is Terry Marie is too nice to the people here. We don't like that. Or, Patrick, call Patrick at midnight and he didn't come right over because there was a mouse in the house or something. When you have personnel issues or personal issues, the requirement is that you document those and you submit those to the board, the president, or the director who's responsible for that area. And so we will follow that procedure. Once the conversation has been had to the satisfaction of the board, but also the community wherever possible, then we'll have the voting process according to Robert's Rules of Order. And hopefully that keeps us a little bit more on track and the marathon meetings get a little smaller. So if my board members have any questions or comments right now, let's have Adam. Otherwise, I'd ask you to review these and get back to me in the next few days and tell me whether there's anything you'd like to change. And at the next meeting, we'll vote on the draft. Is that okay? Great. So that's the end of that particular one. And what's that? You can bring your donkeys with you. The importance of using microphones is on here. Kowalski, you sneak these things in on me. Like, it's a good thing I read these things in advance. Yeah, we do need to use our microphones both for the Zoom, so the Zoom can pick up the conversation, as well as for people who are in the back to make sure. Sometimes today's probably not that big of a deal unless you're very, very soft-spoken. But when we have a room full of people, sometimes it can be challenging. So we'll all do our best. These are not the easiest things to work with, because if you don't hold them exactly right, it can go like that, and then you can't hear anything. So, and if you put your lips on it, then you break someone's eardrums. So we'll work on our microphone etiquette and protocol. That's it in the updates. There are a couple of things in the president's report from the minutes. I think I'll wait until Barbara's here, but I think I'm going to, just a heads up, I'm going to call for a reconsideration of the motion that was made to continue to veer away from what the actual docs say on the 80-20 rule. After speaking with our attorney, that's not appropriate, and it's by law, we are responsible for upholding the documents. And the documents, as they're stated today, say all owners must be 55 plus. And until such time as we decide if that's what we want versus saying one of the owners needs to be 55 plus, then we need to enforce what's in the documents. We're not going to, anyone who's already here is grandfathered, of course. We're not going to go back after them. But for the go forward, for any sales going forward, all owners must be 55 plus until we decide otherwise. And that's not going to be until we have a full meeting, probably not till the annual meeting next year. Okay, moving on to the treasurer's report. Janine, please.
Good morning. Mine is short and sweet. I'm happy to report that our community is fiscally sound at this time, and there are no major concerns. Thank you.
Board, can I have a motion to accept the report from Janine? Bill makes the motion.
I'll second it.
Dave seconds. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Righty. Dave, buildings, appurtenances, and exterior plantings.
Hello, good morning. Okay, so I should be fairly short as well. 152 has just gotten a new fascia put up on their building. They're putting up gutters, so that's been accomplished. Next step is for them to put in the owner to put their gutters up, and then that's to take care of the kind of the rainy season that it floods over there. There was a patio that just went in, 192 B, C, and D, and that was approved. And that looks really good. If you get a chance, go over there, look behind there. It looks fantastic. 150 C. Oh, there's a 150 C. Yeah, that's right. Over here, I'm getting a quote today. They've had some damage to their ceiling. That's Adri. Other was it Adria?
Owns.
Adriana. 160. Okay, so thank you. 160 C. Anyway, there's she's had some repair ceiling damage, so we're going to get that repaired. We're getting a quote today for that. Let's see. New doors, they're complete. The permits and everything are now finalized with A Christian. There are new mailboxes that are going in there in their places of the old doors, because the old doors had the mail slots. Thank you. So new mailboxes should be going up. I'm doing really good at speaking right now. So if there's any issues with mailboxes not getting there, let me know, and then we'll get the mailboxes put up. But we do have them in. They're getting up. This is a slow process right now.
Can I
Oh.
interrupt you for a second?
Yes.
Could you please talk about the door jams and what you're going to do about the door
yes.
jam work?
Okay, the door jams, they're also going to be repaired. That's also coming. Unfortunately, A. Christian was not in the contract for them to come over and putty the holes that the screws go into when they're countersunk. So we're going to have to do it ourselves. So that's going to take a little time, but they're going to come by and putty the holes, and then we'll paint over that. Okay. I only have one more thing, and that's we had a generous and anonymous donor that helped us out with the karaoke speakers that was just bought for tomorrow night. So can we give everybody this person a hand? Thank you very much for the donation. That is all I've got. Pardon me? What's that? The speakers will be back here because now it belongs to the association.
Okay, are there any questions from the board, please? Hearing none, I'll have a motion to accept. Richard? Can we go to this? Remember, if you're going to speak, you need to go to the microphone.
Good morning, Gail Nolanchak, 205B. We had termite problems. And it seems that they came and fixed it, but we still need the fascia done. And when you do termites on one side, they tend to migrate to the other side. So I'm sure C and D also have termite problems.
That was already taken care of as well.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further? Okay, I think, did I get a motion? Richard made a motion to accept Dave's report. Can I have a second?
Bill, seconds.
Bill seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, Bill, pools and clubhouse?
Okay, first off, I carry on with what David said is, I have a couple of pieces of equipment here for games for tomorrow night, and we had a generous unanimous donor donate those to the 2 sets of each. So we have games to play tomorrow night, which we'll be setting up, and I'll get back on tomorrow night later on after Richard talks about it. Going through quickly, it's hurricane prep season now, so we're looking at our inventory and we have to restock, make sure we're covered for that this month. I talked to Pete from Hoffman about the air conditioner, the loudness of it. He was supposed to come in and give me a call, but he hasn't showed up yet, so I'll follow up with him again. And there's a concern about the hot water or the water heater for the pool. We're going to follow up and see what's going on with that, get that corrected for the shower, that is. And the last thing is that the drinking fountain. Okay, we've got the new drinking fountain that we were going to put up this week, but we need to get some screws stuff which I got. So I'm waiting on Patrick. He's kind of working on fascia boards and stuff right now, but we're looking at him, his time to free up to do the pool, and I asked him when he thinks he can do the drinking fountain. And that's it.
Did you and Patrick have an opportunity to talk about that, the pool building, if you will, the enclosure of the, okay. It's been eaten basically apart by termites and it'll need to be replaced. I know that we've had some residents who've complained about it not being painted. We're not going to bother with taking the time to paint something that is falling apart. It's going to have to get replaced, and whether we're able to do that financially this year or put it in the budget for first of next year. That'll be between y'all to talk about, and make a determination on, but just so we're wrap that one up.
Okay. Just along that note, I did look at section 3 and section 4's area where they store their trash that's getting picked up outside in the parking lot. And we have that one area where everybody brings up their tree trimmings and all that. And I'm going to look at that, but I don't think this year we're going to, it's not in the budget, but it's something, if money became available, I'd like to look at doing something like that. What the section 3 and section 4, they have an enclosure. Okay, it's a basically a plastic fence. Okay, it's 6 foot high by 12 feet square, and they open the gates, and that's when they come in on Tuesdays. They pick up the trash, the bulk trash. I'm looking at, it would be nice to clean up our area if we did that down in our area.
Okay, let's you and I from the clubhouse, pool, and grounds talk about that, because I also have some thoughts about something to do in that same area. So maybe we'll look at the whole layout and just decide what makes the most sense.
Great.
Okay, cool. Any comments, questions? Nothing from the board. Jerry is approaching and she can ask a question.
I have a question. Why
Could
is,
you unit and name?
oh, Jerry Gigliotti, 172A, High Point Terrace West. Why is section 2 depositing their greenery in our trash pile?
I don't know.
Well, they are.
Are
I'm
they?
not the only one that has seen this happen. And they are bringing their garbage over to us.
I don't know. It's a good question. In fact, it's happening. I'll have to check with Patrick and see if he's aware of it,
Mhm.
and whether he's got some kind of an arrangement between the two of them for,
It
putting
should
one
not be.
pile together. I don't know.
It should not be. They have their ground and we have enough garbage of our own.
Well,
So
I'll follow up on it with
Thank you.
Patrick and see what the deal is. Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, if there are no other questions, can I have a motion to accept Bill's report? Janine makes a motion. Second. By Dave. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Barbara Milano is not here to speak about sales and leases, or is there any, Pat, anything that she gave you that, no? To get what? Oh, yeah. 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 Okay. Yeah, things are hot. Think someone told me the other day there's actually 4 units available in all 7 sections right now. Everything else is under agreement, or, some will take backups, but for sale. So there's not a lot of stuff out there. It is. Okay, so there's no report from sales and leases from Barbara then. We'll move on to strategy and cultural planning, which is Barbara Kowalski. Oh, wait a minute. I skipped me. You guys were going to let me do it too, weren't you? Nice try, Kowalski. Nice try. Let's see. Well, there's some good stuff. Let's start by saying you may have seen we have a new golf cart. We put the money in the account last year into the budget for this year. We got a 2018 golf cart right off a 3-year lease at a country club. It's kind of an amazing thing. It's got there's not very many parts in those things. You've got a battery, which is very expensive. The tires, which are not hugely expensive, but they wear out often. A windshield, and then the cart in the back where Patrick puts his work stuff. And so we got this 2018. They put a new windshield, a new lithium battery, which has an 8-year warranty on it, new tires, and a new golf cart in the back, and included all of that in the process. So it's basically a brand new cart, and we got it for a decent price, and we're very happy with it, Patrick. It's bouncing around saying, oh my God, I can't believe it. I hope that somewhere towards the end of this year, we can find a little bit of money to perhaps fix up and refurbish the old one in a similar way. The seats falling apart and stuff, but the cart is still good. We bought, $1,200 worth of new batteries just a couple of months ago. It has new tires on it. That will be the irrigation cart. That will be for our irrigation person, Tim, to use so that he, right now, if where Patrick goes, so does Tim, because there's only one cart to take them and their tools and equipment. So this will allow Tim a lot more independence to work on irrigation. And I'm excited about it. So if we can fix that cart up, because, we don't need that shabby looking thing riding around, and we don't need to spend a lot of money, but we can fix it up so it looks decent, put a new seat in it, and maybe fix a little bit of the paint and have two nice carts to do our work. But that raises the issue of both of these carts have to be charged every night. And we don't have room in the shack for two carts. So one of the ideas would be to talk to Bill and then come back to the board with some ideas about perhaps having a two cart shack for those things there. It's a fairly good and big investment. They're 9,000 and change a piece. And so there has to be a place to keep those and to keep them, safe and dry. For the time being, we'll tarp the old one and put the new one in the shack. But after that, we need to have that conversation about what's the best way to approach storing that. The irrigation, irrigation is going to be a problem for us for a long time. We've been in the midst of a horrific drought. I think that Patrick and Tim have finally, the work that they've been doing for the last 4 months is starting to bear fruit or grass in a number of places. We have a long way to go. Patrick and I met this week. Tim and I will meet this afternoon on a strategy. The strategy from my perspective is going to be to focus, priorities are on the front lawns first. Let's get those front lawns working, get those sprinklers in the front lawns working, get them operating properly. We have people who have built patios and not moved their sprinklers are going to start hearing from us. They're going to have to start footing the bill for moving those sprinkler heads out as they should have done when they first put their patios in. And if people have put trees and plantings in that block the spray of the sprinklers, they're going to be hearing from us that they're going to have to move those plants, or they're going to have to pay someone to do it, or we're going to take them out. And I know people love their plantings and they pay a lot of money for them and they put a lot of sweat equity into them, but we need to make sure that they're put in places and in a way that it allows for the appropriate spraying of the community's lawns and common grounds. And so we're going to start looking at those things. But first things first is to work on the front lawns. And I rode around last night, and there are some areas that look terrific. And then there's some areas right next door that don't look terrific at all. And I think we all feel like we should all have a reasonably green lawn. Personally, I don't care if it's weed or grass, as long as it's green, that's good enough for me. But we're going to do our best to get a good, healthy lawn system going. The rainy season will start shortly, and as the rainy season comes in the next 3 or 4 weeks, that takes a lot of the pressure off the irrigation of the lawn. So we're working on it. And we are also about to do the major tree trimming, the pre-hurricane tree trimming. We have a quote from our friends at Zimmerman. I am going to try to get 1 or 2 more quotes from some other companies. Bill has, done a lot of work on this in the past, and he's pretty confident that we're not going to get, a better quality. We might find someone to do it a little cheaper, but we probably won't get better quality than what we're getting from Zimmerman. So I take that absolutely into account, but it doesn't hurt to try a couple of people, get them in, get some prices, maybe look at doing some combination stuff. There are some companies out there who do the whole schlemiel, the lawns, the bushes, the plantings, the trees, and everything. And we certainly will be looking at our lawn services and our bug spraying services over the next couple of months. So that's what's happening in lawns and gardens.
I have one question. We're going to accept the Pat's rental and sales. I don't think we did that, or do we?
She didn't make a, she didn't make a
Because I wasn't sure if
report.
this Pat took over for her. Okay, no report. Okay.
Hi, hi, George Price, 350D High Point Boulevard. I got a question on the lawns particularly, lawn shot. So who seeds and fertilizes? Is that up to the homeowner or is that part of the landscaping people?
The lawns are part of the common elements. They're, so the association's responsible for those. And we weed and feed, we don't seed.
Okay,
All right, so we typically seed is not a very successful approach down here because of the amount of heat and sun we get. And so typically sod is the preferred way to go. I'm going to be honest. I have been to Home Depot myself in the past and thrown some seeds out there just to try and cover some of the dirt patches. And it comes up a little spotty, but it comes up. But the overall responsibility is for us, and you should give us a call or put in a work order if you have specific work that needs to be done in your unit. I'm hoping that the Boulevard and Terrace West are the two places when I'm riding around that catch my eye for some work that could be done fairly easily and get those front lawns looking better than they look today.
okay. A second question. You mentioned something about insects and pests, ants, particularly red ants in the lawns. Have they been, are you going to spray for them again? Or, you know, and also ants inside the condo are my responsibility, correct?
Yes, ants inside inside the wall,
Yeah.
inside the unit is your responsibility.
Okay.
And everywhere I've ever lived in Florida, people have always advocated for, you know, for regular bug spraying
Yeah.
by a bug pest control person. And if you have a particular problem with like the phantom ants or something like that, sugar ants, they can treat for those particularly with reasonable traps and approaches. As for ants in the lawn, Bill, is that part of the True Green? True Green, we do quarterly sprayings by True Green. And that's a quarterly, right? Yeah. Right, right.
Yeah, that's by Mike. Larry,
My purpose,
is it that?
I'm saying is, we have another company that sprays perimeter of the buildings too.
And that's,
Which
that's
that
for the
would be
red ants,
Larry's
correct?
pest control.
That controls the red ants in the lawn?
No, True Green controls the lawn, okay? They do it with they go with the fertilization and they do insect control.
Are you having a particular problem at your place with red ants?
Yeah, they're in the lawn.
Okay,
Yes, they're in the lawn at this
So-
time.
So what I can do is I can give True Green a call and just ask them whether they're actually actively treating for that. And if they are not, we can look at whether or not we need to do something specifically for your area. It's the first time, I mean, I know red ants exist down here and they're part of, that's why we live in Florida kind of thing. But I haven't heard of anybody talking about like an infestation in the lawn. So we'll have to check it out, get Patrick or
I've only
Tim.
noticed 2 or 3 mounds right now.
Yeah.
But it, you know, it just
Yeah.
happens to be at the edge of the lawn and somebody could walk into them.
Yep, I will ask,
So,
I will ask True Green if they treat for those, and I will also ask Patrick and or Tim to take a quick look to see if there's something that we need to do in the meantime. Okay.
okay, thank you.
And just to let you know that also Larry's pest control comes by, you know, once a month, and he also does the outer of the house. You're welcome.
What's the unit number again, George? Okay, can I have a motion to accept the lawns and gardens report?
I'll make a motion to accept.
Dave makes a motion. Can I have a
Second.
second? Who seconded? Richard. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, Richard, Director at Large. Oh, no, I skipped again. Back to cultural. Right. I keep trying to get around you. Strategy and Culture Planning, Barbara Kowalski, your monthly report, if you will.
Strategy and planning. Janine and I met each director and reiterated that our project planning and bidding process for 2022 will include all capital projects over $1,000, the insurance funding, the reserves, etc. Janine and I have been working closely as a team. We expect that our 2022 projects bidding process will be completed before our budget committee meets in the fall. This requires the full cooperation of each director to accomplish this over the summer. I have given each of, well, I have forgot to give them out, but I have given each of you a copy of our new request for proposal. It looks more difficult than it is. Janine and I tried to cover as much as we could to protect the association, but in the process, I think we made it easy to understand. But we are available to help each of you if needed. Remind me on this, okay? Yeah. That was strategy and planning on community and social environment. We have had 2 successful community events and activities, the pool barbecue and the welcome breakfast. The social committee has had 3 meetings thus far. We've been planning, investigating more activities, which we will continue to look at starting in the fall. Many of our members have left either left for the summer or will be leaving for the summer. Therefore, we will not be meeting again until September or October. We are planning our next event for tomorrow, May 14th, which is hoagies and karaoke with DJ Dave, who's a little nervous because he's got so many people coming. We are also planning a 4th of July barbecue for the residents who will be here in Florida. We now have cornhole and ladder ball sets to be used for our sponsored our sponsored activities. And Richard, you want to give a quick recap of what?
Yeah, we're for tomorrow's function, we're up to 61 people, and we've probably accumulated 10 people in the last day or so because of the gas problem. They're not able to leave and get gasoline in their cars, go home, so they're staying. So we're increased to 61 people now. But I can't go any more than right after the meeting because Publix, who's making the hoagies, won't accept them any later than today if there's any increases. So if there's any increases, you're going to have to let me know at the end of this meeting. If not, it'll be increased to 61.
Individual hoagies?
All individual hoagies, they come in a lunchbox. They come with the hoagie, Italian hoagie. They come with unsweetened iced tea. They come with a container of potato salad. They come with 2 chocolate chip cookies. And that's it.
Like a picnic.
It's a good meal and a half.
Ice cream sandwiches for dessert.
A question for you guys. Ice.
Well, the iced tea comes in the box, so that'll be refrigerated and it'll be cool. We will probably have a cooler out here with ice and water in it. Okay, and I'll also have some sugar packets because if some people want a sweetened iced tea, we'll have sugar packets here. We'll have cups here. There'll be mayonnaise in case somebody wants mayonnaise on their hoagie. There'll be some more olive oil in case people want olive oil. That'll be in the packet. And the hot peppers will be in little containers here that you can take and put on there. So everything is basically handled right there.
But so I know that we can wipe out that ice maker in there pretty quickly when we have gatherings. I'm just wondering if we need to bag some and put it in the freezer. And
What'll happen probably after the meeting, Bill and I will get together and we'll pre-package some ice and throw it in the freezer.
or just buy some 10-pound, 20-pound bags of ice just to have as a backup, just because I just know that the last time we ran right down to the very bottom of the ice maker in there. So, and it will be a hot day. Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, Lynn, there were bags of ice that were taken out of the ice machine and stored in the freezer, and they were never used. Bill and I threw the 2 bags out.
So they
so
probably
They
somebody put 'em
they
in and
forgot about the
or they
ice.
forgot to tell people that they were in
Yeah,
the
there was
big
ice in the
'cause
freezer.
That's usually locked, right? So, okay.
Yeah, yeah, and we'll notify everybody once they come or what they're going to do, because there's other things other information that I'll be passing out to the people that day.
So tomorrow, I have to get people to help out. Okay, I have to get people to help set up the pool area because it's all outside, so I'm not sure exactly how many chairs we have outside, but we'll bring some from inside out, so.
So you're looking for volunteers?
Anybody volunteers, yes, I would.
Do you have a
appreciate sign
time
up.
when you want people to show
Well,
up?
we eat at 5, right? It
5.
starts at 5, so I'd
Oh.
like to,
So,
But they can come before 5, but play.
I know
games.
I'm going to be here
Yeah.
at 4.
so
so come
we'll set
around
up
3?
early. Yeah, 3 would be good.
3.
The workers are coming at 4, so you want them to come at 4? If anybody wants to help,
Oh,
they could come an hour early to
yes.
help with
Yeah.
the chairs out and stuff?
Okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was thinking 2, 3 o'clock together.
Well, we can recruit, yeah, we'll recruit people out of the pool before they leave to set it
Yeah,
up.
there you go, pool people. Okay, well, spread the word if you would to friends and family that if they're around and they're coming tomorrow night, if they can drop by around 3 o'clock to help move a little of the furniture. It's no heavy lifting, just some chairs in and some chairs out. Okay, great. Well, good, great. I'm so glad you got enough. 61 people coming up to the end of May is a big crowd for us. You know, it's a big crowd, and I'm just enjoying it. The last week, every day, there's been a ton of people at the pool, and people have been staying in later in the afternoon and just meeting new people and enjoying it. It's been great. Life comes back post-COVID, I guess. So thank you. Good. Great to hear it. Okay. You're not finished
No.
yet.
Can I go?
Yeah, you can.
Let's hope that COVID will be over soon, so many of what we have planned can come to fruition. However, even when it is over, the social committee would like to make a recommendation that at all association activities and events, all individuals preparing, cooking, and serving food must wear gloves and masks. Also, that if a person has not received the COVID immunizations, they do not prepare, cook, or serve the food. And the recommendation is not only for when COVID, but eventually when COVID is hopefully disappears, it could prevent the spread of flu, pneumonia, etc., which is not good for the people of our age group. And I want to know if there's any discussion. Anybody have anything to say? I make a motion that this be
We have a
adopted.
motion on the floor to require that masks and gloves be worn by any volunteer or paid person serving, touching, handling the shared food or condiments or equipment that we use both for these current events during COVID, but on an ongoing basis. Do I have a second for that?
I'll second.
Richard is a second. Is there any conversation, questions, comments to be had? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. You done yet?
No, I need a motion.
No, are you done? Okay, just checking. Can I get a motion to accept Barbara's report, please? Janine has made a motion. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Dave seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Barbara. Richard, Director of Special Planning and at Large.
Okay, there were 2 items that were passed on to me. The first item was the water problem that was existing at 152D. The water was going in and came through the wall and eroded their sheetrock and the baseboard. So that has been taken care of. He's still working on it. They removed, there were blocks in there that were against the wall, and they were all removed, and there's a waterproof paint that was put on, and waiting for that to dry very soon. And then the paint will be put on, it matches the building. So that was all done, and there were some suggestions made to the owner concerning the guttering. He had new guttering put on, and there were some suggestions made about where the gutter downspout should be, how far out they should be, so they can clear the foundation of the building. The other thing was, and this I think most people should look at because we're really going through this warm spell. Look at your air conditioners outside, the compressor units outside, and somewhere near that is the drain from in the house, and that comes out. And if it's too close to the building, extend it out. And that was a suggestion that was made to the 152D, because the two pipes were just right at the end of the building and they were feeding back into the foundation. So that suggestion was made to him also. So that one was taken care of. The second one was the water problem. When we have hurricanes and heavy rains, there's an accumulation of water behind the 142 building and the 152 building. There are drains there that feed into the lake. The drains have a 5-inch water pipe, and 2 5-inch water pipes do not handle all the water that's coming down from the 207 building, or 212 building, all the way down behind us. And that water will accumulate there between the 142, 152, 162, 172, and 182 building. That will flood to 2 or 3 inches of water. And people there, if they're not conscious of this and they don't take care of their back doors, the water is going to go into their units. So I was handed that one, and I contacted the garden center. And he gave me a quote to do a 8-foot swale, 8-foot wide swale, 200 feet from the accumulation where that is of the water pool, from the accumulation there all the way out to the street. So we can take that water, instead of it pooling behind any houses and destroying or damaging our properties, this will eliminate that. So his quote to do all that. I know we've been working on this for a long while because we just couldn't get anybody out. So Bob Glenn from the Delray Garden Center gave me a quote to do that, and it will be a finished swale. That there will be sod all around. So 3 pallets of sod, I believe it is, to cover all this swale. And that'll be done for $3,500. So I'd like us to really consider that so we can get it started, because we're right now in the heart of the hurricane season. I mean, I don't know how many saw the rain yesterday. I mean, it only came down for like 20 minutes, but those drops hitting the car were this big. They were 2 inches round. It was that heavy. But this is going to increase. And all the weather report says that we have not had, where we always expected a major hurricane every 7 years, which we haven't had. We've always expected a semi-major hurricane every 6 years, which we haven't had. So all the weather reports are saying, be careful this year on the East Coast. So I think we really need to take care of this now, so it can get done before the hurricane season is really upon us. So
Thank you, Richard. Can I hear any comments from other members of the board, please.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment also. When he was talking about the water going back in there, people that do not have gutters along the side of the house when it rains, it goes down, it knocks the dirt from there, kicks it out, and it tapers, it ends up tapering the grounds towards the building. So, I mean, it's really a concern if you look at those areas too, that you get an area where they could have a potential for more water going in. If they got water like where you're at.
About 10 years ago, Bob Glenn from the Delray Garden Center came over to the board and asked if he could do swales. And the swale was between the 142, 152, 152, 162, 162, 172, 172, 182, and he put in swales there. That was 10 years ago. And everybody was suggested that their downspouts really force the water out. Not like this, okay? A downspout coming out of the house, if it's straight like this, the water's not going to flow anywhere. It really has to come down in a forceful movement to get out into that area. So, we have in the past, Bob Glenn has come over and helped us with these swales. Now those swales have somewhat filled up, yeah, because of grass and all that. But this will help. This will help eliminate the accumulation of water. And people, like Bill said, people with their downspouts really have to be conscious of how those downspouts have to focus away from the building.
About is people, I can't hear me. What I was talking about is people that do not have gutters on the side. The water cascades right down the roof, and that's a concern I have. But
Yeah, so I'm advocating strongly for this. Number one, I saw that water last year during the rainy season, and it was frightening. If your house, like yours, is right dead square in the path of that thing, it's a mini river, and it runs fast, and it runs with a huge amount of water. And it happens in 15 minutes. It's just amazing. And it really is an issue, a community issue that needs to be looked at. Last year, by the time we saw it and figured out, we wanted to go back and do more work with an engineering company to really find out what's the problem with the elevation out there that makes the water do that. And we couldn't find anybody. And at the time, we asked Bob Glenn to do some swales, and he didn't have any time. We're already in the hurricane and the rainy season. So time is of the essence to do this now before the rain starts, because that's when everybody's jumping on his bandwagon looking for him to do this kind of work. And, it's $3,500, but it's well spent for the, especially, probably involves what, 20 units, I would say, maybe 20, 24 units. 5 times 4 is 20. Yeah. So I think it's our responsibility, and I'm for this. Anybody else have any questions, comments? I would entertain a motion to approve. Well, let me ask this. Money lady, where are we going to find $3,500 for that? And we have enough money in the emergency fund? It's very interesting. I just want to be really clear. We stopped putting money into the emergency fund this year because we hadn't spent it. And we had around $50,000, I think, in the emergency fund. And so we said, well, that's plenty of money. We're not going to need to put any more money in it this year. And it's coming out of there fast and furiously, all on reasonable things. The pool heater went. Boom, you got to replace that. The air conditioning in here went. Boom, got to replace that. Now $3,500 for this emergency swale. Boom. So I think as I was looking at the numbers at the end of April, we'd spent $18,000 already out of that this year so far. And this is another $3,500. So, it's a good thing we have it. We're probably going to have to put it back in the budget next year to replenish it. But we also are going to have to be really thoughtful about, using that fund going forward so we don't suck it dry. Okay, so a motion
I'll
to
make,
accept it?
I'd like to make the motion that we contact Delray Gardens and have him get started on this as soon as possible before the hurricane season.
Can I get a second? Bill seconds. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. There you go, Richard. Give him a call and let's get him rolling. Oh, yes, Richard, do you have any other issues you want to discuss? That's it. Okay, great. Thank you. Can we have a motion to accept Richard's report?
I'll make a motion to accept the report.
And seconded by Janine. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Richard. Old business, discussion and vote on the use of the 80-20 rule. I think I mentioned that earlier, that I think we really need to have a conversation about enforcing the 80-20 rule and requiring new owners to be 55 or older until such time as we determine a fix for the language in the docs. Do we need to wait on that, or can I ask for people, are they comfortable having a vote on that now?
I think we need to investigate this more. I'll pass out some information that I've acquired, but when these docs were changed 12, 13 years ago, the legal firm then said that we are covered with everything concerning the 80-20 regulation. Okay. They didn't want to put in, they didn't feel that we had to put in that you must be 55 plus in order to own, because there was a big discussion about inheritance, and it's part of the regulation now, and that's probably one of the questions that always comes up. What happens to that 20% if we enforce a 55 owner? They must be 55 years old owner. Well, then a inheritance would have to sell because they can no longer own here. And that was a big discussion 12 or 13 years ago. And the lawyer said that will be handled. So I'd like to pass this out to the board, okay, and then have more discussion on it at the next meeting, because I think it's a really, really, really important aspect of the 80-20.
I 100%, 1,000,000% support that. What I'm looking for is we have current legal advice, which we have received within the last 30 days, that says that it is a toss-up, given the way the language is written and based on current law and legal standing, whether or not our docs would be seen as clarifying that people over the age, that everyone has to be over the age of 55 to buy in here, and that the judges could read that differently based on the way it's worded. So the question on the table for today is, what do we do in the meantime until we figure out which direction we want to go? Do we want everybody who buys in here to be 55 plus? Or do we want to say only one person has to be 55 plus? It really doesn't have anything to do with the language about inheritance. Because residents can still be under 55. You can still have your 20% of those, but we need clarity on the language in the documents. And as of today, we are not enforcing the documents, which today say that owners, not one owner, owners must be 55 or older to purchase property in here. And what instead we've been doing for a number of years, because of the language in the docs is not clear, we have gone to one of the owners has to be 55 or older. And that's what's been going on. So we have a lot of people in here where one person is 55 and one is not. And I don't have a personal horse in that race. It doesn't, there's good things to be said for both ways on it. I'm not saying not to do that. I'm just saying in order to make that happen, we have to put some people together, do the research, talk to the attorney, come up with a decision, bring it to the board, get the board to vote whether they want all owners buying in to be 55 or one owner, and change the language in the docs accordingly to meet whatever it is that decision is. And that takes, it's like an annual meeting. You got to have proxies, you got to have the mailings, you got to have the 60% of the people vote. It's not a sitting around the board meeting having a conversation. So it's got to be done that way. So all I'm asking for is, in the meantime, while we're doing all of that stuff, I believe, and based on what I'm being told by the attorney is advising us, we need to implement the docs as they sit, which is that all owners must be 55 or older. And I asked for a motion on that, and that is just until such time as we determine as a community what we wanted to do and make the documents change to meet it.
Yeah, and the concern, but I would have if we changed that and made it just, only one owner had to be, then it does get in the situation that we hit our limit 80-20, and now we have inheritance where you can't pass it on, or we're breaking the 80-20 rule. That's the concern. I mean, obviously, if I'm 57 and I've got a wife that's 54, I'd want her on my deed. But, right now, we shouldn't be able to do that.
Any other comments, questions? Yeah. Okay, so I think we had a motion and did we have a motion and a second? Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that until such time as we determine what the language should be and make the change to the documents, but no later than the next annual meeting, that we should enforce the docs as they sit, which says that all owners must be 55 or older. And I'm looking for a second.
I second.
Bill is a second.
And I think in there it says about inheritance.
I
I
think
think
there's,
our
yes,
docs
there's
cover
language
the
for an
inheritance,
exception
which
for inheritance.
is really important
Right.
because
That's
in all
right.
these codes, you're going to see where it talks about
Yeah,
inheritance.
you're absolutely right, Richard.
So,
Absolutely right.
Bill seconded.
Okay, so we've got a motion, a second. Can we have a vote, please? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Pat, would you make sure that Barbara is aware that we're changing our mind on that one? And, well, we're not going to go back. We're not going to go back. We're just talking, go forward. We're going to recognize that we were incorrectly implementing the rules of the declaration and the documents. And that's what we were doing. It was incorrect, but no, what are you going to do? People make mistakes every day and live to tell about it. But we're not going to do it going forward. We're going to change the docs to say what they should say. So then we're all in legal compliance. Okay? Great. Support and emotional support animals, problems with other animals.
I think that was also me from the last board meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. There are a number of things again that I found, and I'll pass these out to the board, and I'll read through the summation that I did. There you go, Bill. Okay. I think it's important that we know what's happening, because there are two areas that are being covered here. HUD says one thing and ADA says something else. Okay. But we are functioning under HUD, which says we can do certain things. The certification can be questioned, especially those that have come through the internet. Now, HUD tells us that. Those issuing the certificates are all supposed to have had personal contact with the person, okay, that they're issuing a certificate for. You can question the certificate provided concerning their findings. If certain items are visible, you should not even question. If they have a hearing, not a hearing dog, if they have a dog for vision, okay, you don't even question that one. But if they have a dog for hearing and they say, oh, I need a support dog for my hearing, then you can question that one. So, okay, so there are no questions provided concerning their findings, okay? You may not request medical records. You cannot ask about anything concerning their medical records. Disabilities not visible, like I just said, like hearing difficulties, may be questioned through HUD regulations and not ADA. ADA is different. You can't ask certain things through ADA, but through HUD you can. And we're through HUD because
No,
we're a
not
fair
through-
house.
No, we are not exempt from following the rules of the ADA. Absolutely 1,000, no.
Well-
If they have separate things, we're going to have to follow both of them.
Okay,
But
but
we have to, ADA is mandatory. We have to follow it or we're going to find ourselves in a
I
world
think
of
we are
hurt.
Okay,
mixing
when
up
you-
emotional support dogs with real ADA service dogs. The ADA are real service dogs that have gone through training for a specific thing. For instance, if they have to help you open a door, and that they've been trained, but emotional support is different.
Well, I know that they're different, but the
But-
ADA addresses the right
Oh,
of people in both circumstances to
Right,
have one or the
right,
other.
right.
And
No.
we cannot ignore.
no,
what the
we can't
ADA
no,
says.
let me finish. Let me finish my report. Okay, ADA has certain strict regulations, but we are concerned about housing. And that's why HUD has priority over some of the ADA regulations. And you'll see it in the housing regulations that I just passed out.
It's not-
Association should have a very detailed list, and they should follow it concerning, animals, support animals, emotional support animals. Okay, they say this right in that information that I gave you. The above, there are more regulations that can be found in that information that I passed out to you concerning the ADA and HUD. Okay, there's a lot of information there. Palm Beach County has a leash regulations, okay, and they just recently changed it. No one in the county could give me a length of leash. It used to be 10 feet. They're saying it's 6 feet, and I said, where is it? They can't find it. But it was just reviewed recently, and there's no amount of footage for a leash, okay? And there are some places that you go will not allow you to have an extendable leash. It must be a solid leash, not an extendable one. Okay, so that's Palm Beach County. Muzzles, Palm Beach County will require a muzzle if an animal is aggressive or a danger to other people or dogs. Okay, that's the dog, that's the muzzle. Okay, you just can't say everybody has to have a muzzle. You just can't say that. And then the barking, okay, loud barking, according to the county, if it's reported by someone at least 3 times that this animal, this dog, is extremely loud and barking loudly all the time, and nothing's being done, they can issue a summons to have that dog removed. But the information, there's a lot more information in what I passed out to you, and that's from HUD. That's a HUD thing. So please review that, look through it. Any questions? I'll be more than happy to answer them next time because you'll have a chance to look through all that information.
Comments, issues? I'll tell you that we've had several situations come up in the last 2 weeks of people with service or support animals. And it's a mess. And we need to get this thing straightened out sooner rather than later because we have people who really, they don't care whether, what the rules are. They're getting animals and they're bringing them in and, they're, getting stuff off the internet, getting their little certificate off the internet, and they assume that it's good. And I don't, people fall in love with their animals. I don't want to make anybody have to give up their dog or whatever, but it's a problem. People are getting very large animals. We have a no animals, no pets rule here. The only exception is for pets that are meet the criteria for a service or a support animal. And we need to figure out this HUD ADA thing because I see where Richard's document has a statement that's confusing. But in the documents that I sent out from, what is her name, Sachs and somebody, I sent that out to all of you. You should have received that in your email. That was a very lengthy review of the current situation in Florida, according to Florida and federal statutes. It was very clear on what we could and what we could not request or demand from people. But we got to figure it out and we have to start enforcing some of this stuff. Or we might, as we said last time, we might as well not have a pet policy at all. Just let people have whatever it is they want to have and enforce the picking up of the poop thing.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
If you go to the. But they
Yeah.
listen.
Well, if somebody walked in and said,
Like
I
puppies.
need a service dog and it met the criteria, they wouldn't have any choice.
Exactly. You're right. You don't have a
ADA
choice
has
with-
no choice. Fair, and I'm going to say that ADA would trump. But Richard has some new data that I haven't seen before, and I'm not an attorney, so I want to check with the lawyers to
Absolutely.
see what that says, because the stuff that I got from Sachs, who is an attorney, and that's all they do is condo and HOA law, was very clear that in Florida, you could not ask for certain things, but you could ask for other things. Like you can ask someone for evidence of a disability. All you can do is ask someone for certification, and it has to be a professional, currently licensed medical person in the state of Florida. Or if it's someone outside of Florida, they need to provide evidence that they have actually seen the patient in person so that they can make this judgment that they need a service animal. They don't have to tell you what the service is for or anything else. They don't share that, which is different than if somebody wants to say that they have a disability, so they need to put a bridge in the front yard. You know what I mean? You can't even ask for that kind of data in advance. I mean, that's the HUD as I understand it.
Yeah.
But we're going to get some information on it. But most of the sections in here just go, whatever. Whatever. I have two friends that have bought places in Section 4 just in the last month and a half, and they weren't even asked about whether they had any animals. And one of them, who has a support dog, said, I have a support dog. What do I have to do? They said, oh, fine, just we'll put it in the record that you have a support dog, and that's it. And they don't ask. So, everybody's all over the place on it. So I'm not going to make you get up to the microphone. But, so the rules are that you must pick up your dog's leavings and droppings as you go along, and they must be on a leash. Our rules, Richard, it's interesting because our rules and our rules we live by does note a 10-foot leash. And so if that has changed in the state of Florida, we want to make sure we change that and the rules we live by too, but they're supposed to be on the leash. That's really, there are no other written rules about walking animals or taking animals outdoor. Now, I was riding in the golf cart last week with Patrick. We were looking at some lawn issues in the back of the boulevard, and some lady opened her door and her dog ran out. We almost ran it over. Well, she clearly didn't expect to see the president and the maintenance guy out in the backyard when she let the dog out. If the dog was not on the leash and she didn't have any bags in hand. She just, people think they have a little dog, so it's a little poop. But when you have 100 little dogs doing little poops, it's a big pile of crap. So, but we need you all to, like, if your neighbors are letting the dog out, you need to say something, I mean, well, it's all common property. It's all common element. Nobody owns any piece, so.
But no, to that, they shouldn't be walking on the grass, okay? They should be,
Should not.
no, they should not be walking on the
Right.
grass.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we have people coming from other sections too. Section 2 people walk their animals along here and they like to walk out by the lake and whatever. It's a sort of a weird line of trying to be good neighbors and expecting other people to be good neighbors too. You don't want to be jumping on people for everything, but so where do we want to go with this?
Well, there was a question about the ADA.
Yeah, I'm going to check with Andrew, our
Okay,
attorney.
on page, what I passed out, on page 5, it's very specific here from federal housing. Okay, what you can ask and what you shouldn't ask, what you should and what you shouldn't ask. If it's visible, and I said this earlier in my presentation, if it's a visible handicap, you shouldn't even bother asking it. If it's not, then you ask. And if people refuse to because they will say, I don't have to answer that under ADA, the answer is very specific. It says, I'm asking you this not under the ADA, but under the Fair Housing Act. So you can ask it under HUD and the Fair Housing Act, not under ADA.
The question is for what purpose? And the ADA specifically has rules about the purpose of determining whether a person can have a service or a support dog. And HUD is more generic. It's about whether someone can request reasonable accommodation without specifically identifying an animal. Could they ask for a reasonable accommodation or an exception to rules because of a physical disability? So I think I really appreciate you coming back and giving me the information and giving us the information, because it's really, I think it's an important, critical question to be answered, but I think it's best answered by our attorney.
Yeah, I think it's important too, but I think, we really have to look at all the HUD regulations and say, okay, ADA is here, but we're concerned about, and this is what all the regulations say, we're a housing unit, a community, and we really need to follow the HUD. So,
And not to beat a dead dog, but that would be like saying, okay, I'm going to follow the law that says that you can't go over 40 miles an hour in a particular zone, and therefore I can do whatever I want on the federal highway. It just because we are concerned with HUD because we are a housing development, but that doesn't exclude our responsibility to be in line with the other federal laws, including the ADA. So it's more difficult and more complex than one would think. And we'll get Andrew to take a look at it and he'll clarify it for us.
And keep in mind, reading the next sentence in this thing, it says, in rare cases, miniature horses are recognized as service animals. Miniature horses are recognized as service animals. So if we see horses running around the neighborhood,
We
they
can
don't even
actually,
have to be on a leash.
we
they,
could get
they
a,
mentioned in these regulations, they mention horses, they mention goats, they mention snakes. Oh yeah, they mention all of these as being support animals. But but the most common is a horse.
Okay, we're gonna wrap this up. Are there any other issues, questions, or,
I just have
subjects?
I just have a comment I just thought about. I've had a couple people approach me about storing stuff in the clubhouse, okay?
about what?
Storing some of this personal things in
Oh.
the clubhouse, and right now, the answer is no. I mean, if there's legitimate reason, I'd like to hear it, but somebody came up and asked me that
No,
a few days ago, so.
that's right. I pay $50 a month to keep my extra stuff in. That's a really good point. No, and we, if something happens to it, we're responsible. So I'm not interested in putting people's stuff in there. Yeah. Anybody else have a? Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Bill. All right. I'm taking a motion to adjourn. Janine,
I'll second that.
Second it.
Third,
all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you all for coming. Appreciate your participation.
Is there anyone else that needs to sign up for tomorrow? Because I have to go to Publix and get the final count today. Oh, I know. I am ordering extra. We are ordering extra, but I mean, as I ordered extra the last time and the last time, we went beyond that. So if there's anybody else, let me know.